La 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 la. German Masala. Sit back and listen to German Masala. Sit back and listen to German.
Welcome everyone to the 7th episode of the German Masala podcast. I'm your host Alex.
And I'm your other host, Herbir.
And thank you all so much for listening or watching our last episode. Last time we were at Herbir's house or apartment. You were kind enough to, or your wife actually was kind enough to prepare some breakfast for us. It was amazing. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, thank you for being there, Alex. I think we should make this a tradition. My wife would love that. She told me that. And I mean, I did help her a little bit, so... It wasn't just.
I didn't want to undermine your participation in the preparation of the food.
No, she's a great cook. So
yeah, and maybe we should make this a tradition. I'm sorry, I didn't offer you any breakfast today. So.
No worries. So I already had breakfast, but maybe next time.
Okay, yeah, we can think of something. So for those of you who don't know. We're doing a bi-weekly podcast, and the catch here is that we talk about different topics, but only one of us knows the topic we'll be talking about. So last time it was Herbir's turn, and we actually talked about universal basic income, right?
Exactly.
That was a really interesting topic, and I just want to have a little add-on here to our last week's episode before we jump into this week's topic, which is obviously the one I picked. I was sent an article... from Wirtschaftswoche, it's a German magazine. We'll put the link down in the description, so if you want to read this yourself, you can. And apparently in Finland, there was an experiment which ran for 2 years, and they got this, like, basic income. And I read through the article. I just want to highlight some points here. They only, I say only, and you'll see why, they only got 580 euros as their basic income. Okay. In general, it was really positive what the outcome was. The 580 euros is basically the same you would get when you're unemployed. So it's basically the same as your unemployment benefits. However, you don't have to do anything for that. I mean, that's the whole catch for universal basic income. So they just got the money and they didn't have to go to the Arbeitsamt, so to the unemployment office. They didn't have to fill out any whatever.
Forms, etc.
Exactly. Like they didn't have to do any of that. It was just, you get the money. Here it is. And a lot of them, actually, like 20 out of the 2,000 who were randomly selected, started their own business, started their own craft. So because now they had the freedom to do this.
Wow, that's like 1%, right?
10%.
10%, sorry. Yeah, that's no, it's 1%.
No, 1%.
It's 1%.
Sorry, yeah, you're right.
But still, 1% is a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, this is only, like some of the data, but I thought that was really cool. So it enabled people to pursue what they love and make this into a business. So the one person that was featured in this article actually now makes 3,000 euros from her business where she's like an independent contractor or whatever, like something. But I thought that was really cool. It was a positive outcome. However, they also had negative outcomes or whatever. I wouldn't really call it too negative, but some said 560 or sorry, maybe it's only 560 euros, whatever. 560 euros, sure, nice. However, you still need a nice CV, a nice, what is it,
CV?
Yeah, CV. What is the other word for it?
Curriculum vitae.
Yeah, well, that's the Latin word, what
do you call it?
I mean, in German, it's Lebenslauf, whatever you did, your resume. All right. So yeah, basically they said, well, look, all right, you get 560 euros. That's nice, but you still need a good resume to get a job.
But this person started their own business, so you still have options, right? You don't have to get a job. You can do something else, whatever you want to. I mean, you can go dancing. That might not get you any kind of money, but you will be doing something for yourself. You'll be happy,
Get your money.
Maybe if you did that on the street or something, you could make some money as well. But yeah,
I was thinking of some different dancing, but sure.
I don't know what you mean.
No, not at all. Okay, that's fine. So in general, I would say this is only partly what we talked about last time, right? Because last time we were saying, look, it's not supposed to be, taking just your unemployment benefits. It should be like a livable money, like more than 560 euros, obviously. So I think this is like partly what we discussed last time. If you haven't listened to last week's episode, or 2 weeks ago, last episode, please do, and leave us any comments or write us an email if you want to in the show notes, or if you're watching this on YouTube, there will be a email address in the video description. Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Is this the future?
I hope so. It sounds good. I think that can be the solution to a lot of problems that the societies generally, let's say, I mean, I want to say developed societies, but also the ones which are developing right now are going to face. So I think, yeah, we need a solution. So
we do. We really do. We really do. All right, cool. So that was the add-on from last week. And again, thank you for listening, watching. If you desire to do so, we have now, I guess, 6 episodes, and this is our 7th. So there's a bunch of stuff, all from lying to growing up in India. And we'll add another topic to the list today. Wow. This is one I think you're going to really love this one.
Okay.
And actually, I had the request on us doing this topic, I think from like a couple of different people now. And it's about food. And especially food, and I mean, it totally makes sense. We started off with talking about breakfast last time, and especially about like the different foods, the different habits, different cooking styles from Germany versus India, or India versus Germany, however you want to do it. And I want to give our listeners, because we see our statistics, and a good amount of them are still from Germany. So I want to give our listeners a chance to just experience some of the Indian food styles, or at least hear about them. So maybe you can start us off by giving us a short description. I know you always say you're only from a specific part of India, and it differs. I mean, same here in Germany. I live in northern Germany. I have lived in southern Germany for a little bit, but not really long. So sure, there are differences, but maybe you can start us off and give us like your typical day, when you would eat, where you would eat, how many times you would eat, and what the food would regularly consist of. I know that's a lot, but you've done it before.
Sure. I mean, again, I will start with saying the same thing that I always say. I will only talk about North Indian Punjabi food because that's the region I come from. Each kitchen in India, like from each region, is quite different to the other one. So, if you go to in south of India, you will have a completely different palate than you would have in north of India. So I will talk about Northern Indian food right now. So...
And that's fine, there's regional differences everywhere.
Yeah. And so let me start with breakfast. And you have to know that Punjabis are known for eating. So so it's historically so, because Punjab has always been an agricultural state. So most of the money that is used to be there in Punjab, now there are different sources, but back like 20 years, 30 years back, it used to come from farming, from, producing and selling wheat and rice and all those kind of products. And like if you go 50 years back, you didn't really have a lot of machinery to help you with farming, right? So it was like manpower, your own muscle power that you used to grow things, right? So that's why Punjabis used to eat a lot, because they were farmers and they had to do a lot of physical labor, so they were eating accordingly.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you work a lot, you need a lot of calories to fuel yourself, right?
Exactly. And now we don't do that much physical work, but we still eat the same food. Which causes some other problems like health problems and stuff, but I won't get into that, right?
Yeah, it's maybe a different one.
Food is still delicious. So in the morning, we start with something called Paranthas, like a lot of the families. The families, I know all of them start with Paranthas, and basically you had those last week.
Oh, so those were called Paranthas.
Yes. So, which are basically something like salty pancakes or even hash browns. So if you put potatoes inside those, you could call them similar to hash browns, right?
But it was like a pancake shape, and there were onions in there as well, right?
Exactly. So you have a dough, wheat dough, and you can prepare it like 15 minutes before you want to start making. So you don't have, it's not like pizza dough where you have to keep it for a certain amount of time. Okay. You have to let it ferment. That's not the case. It's just wheat dough, right? So you make it, and then you can either make plain paranthas, which will have nothing inside. So basically, you will just roll the dough and put it on something like a pan, and then put some oil on it. Fry it, not really fry it, but just apply a little bit of oil on it, and then warm it from both sides, and then you will have your paranthas. But you can also put like onions, you can put cheese in it, you can put potatoes. Potatoes is the best known form. So it's called aloo parantha.
Oh, so aloo is the potato, and then
Exactly.
Oh, wow! I'm learning here. Some what is it? Punjab language?
Punjabi, yeah. In Hindi, it's also called aloo, and by the way, but yeah.
Okay, both languages. Great.
Yeah, and I mean, you can put onions inside your potatoes as well, and then you have a lot of masalas, like German masala. You have you have different spices in it. A lot of people put things like cardamom, things like salt is always there. There's chili in it. There, you can put ginger. You can put different things, whatever according to your taste, right? And then you put it inside. You roll it. You make your pancake again by applying a little bit of oil. Then you put a lot of butter on it.
Yeah, we did that. I enjoyed that.
Or there's a thing called ghee in India, kyo in Punjabi. It's like clarified butter.
Oh,
So you warm up the butter, and then when it's like completely clear, and you have a little bit of particles, you remove the particles out of it, and it's really, really tasty.
I've never heard of. What does it do to the butter? Is it just more? Is it sweeter? Is it more? I don't like. What does it change from the taste?
It has a different taste. I cannot say that it's sweeter, but it's more fatty sort of thing.
Well, I guess yeah. That's only the fat then, and you're removing the particles which are not. Or
You have something similar in Germany as well. I'm trying to think.
Schmalz.
Yeah, Schmalz. That's exactly Butterschmalz. That's
Creamschmalz. Okay, yeah. For those of you who don't know, it's like basically just pure fat. But some people like to put fried onions in it, and you can buy it actually with fried onions, and you just put it on your like bread basically, and a lot of people just eat it. Yeah.
exactly. Okay, it's really tasty. And then this is breakfast usually. A lot of people in the villages used to have like lassi with it. I guess a lot of people already know what lassi is. It's basically a yogurt drink. You make it by rotating yogurt as fast as possible, and then it sort of creates a creamy drink.
Oh, it's like a centrifuge, basically, like spinning it. Yeah.
Yeah, by spinning it. And it's in Germany a lot of people know it as ayran because it's Turkish as well.
Oh yeah, ayran. Yeah, definitely heard about this. I don't think I've ever tried it, to be honest. But.
Okay. We know next time what we are going to try then. Quite tasty. Again, I mean, Punjabis used to do a lot of physical labor, so these kind of drinks were needed, right? It gave you power. And in India, people still believe that milk is like really, really good for you. And if you're a growing kid, you definitely need milk or any milk-based products. But even if you're an adult, I have a different opinion on this, but they think that milk is really good for you. Okay. I know people who are like in their 80s, 90s still drink daily like 1 glass of milk and are quite healthy. So I know over here one thinks, okay, you need calcium, but only up to a certain age, and then you don't really need that much calcium because milk does not only have calcium, there's also fat in it, which is not really good for you.
And you get a lot of the calcium by just eating cheese or other milk-based products, right?
Exactly. So this is a milk-based drink that you drink in India, and there used to be such large glasses of lassi glasses that people used to drink.
That's crazy. So is that like a typical thing that you drink with it? Because we had tea at your house. Yeah. So is tea also something you would usually get with that?
Yeah, a lot of the families these days drink tea. I mean, you might find people in villages, they still drink lassi now. All the people like in the urban areas have switched to tea now. Lassi is still, it's an occasional thing now. It's also not easy to make. So.
Oh, yeah, I guess that takes. was the tea introduced by the British, or was it something that, because I know there is a good amount of Indian tea selections when I go to like, I actually go to a tea shop once in a while to, yeah, like you don't, maybe you see it, like there's a couple of packaged ones. I don't, I have like too much, yeah, I have like too much tea to drink by myself. But anyway, so sometimes I do go there and I just, look at it. And since my parents also really love tea, I sometimes buy it as, Christmas or birthday gifts or whatever. And I always put too much sugar in mine, so whatever. But yeah, so there's a good amount of Indian tea selections now that are, I guess, grown and harvested in India, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a region called Assam, it's known for its tea. You have that tea in Britain as well and all over the world. Assam, yeah.
That's a tea you can just buy here. That's like the actual name of it.
Yeah. That's a region in India, Assam.
I did not see. I learned definitely something. I because I've drank Assam before, and it's basically like a black tea, right? Like
It is black tea. But that's how you learn. I never knew that you can only call champagne a champagne if it comes from a certain region from France. Then, but I think I learned that last week or something. I was like, wow.
There's a bunch of things you sometimes just learn. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't know this the entire life. I was, but it's cool.
Keep learning. I mean, that's the main thing. Anyway, so I think British introduced tea in India, but some history buffs right now might hate me for saying this because people know that China used to drink a lot of tea as well. So it might have come from China. I'm not really sure. But I know that like the plantations in Assam where tea is grown, like they were under British control. So I'm thinking that it might be the case that British introduced tea in India. And Indian tea is also with milk, right? So like British put just a little bit of milk in it. Indians put a lot of milk in it because, again, we love milk.
Sure. Yeah. That's where it surfaces again.
Milk is source of energy, we think, But yeah, so, and then again, you can put some spices in it. Yeah, I love putting cardamom in my tea, and it's really tasty, I think.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard that either. I just, again, put sugar or honey in it or something, and then I'm like... Yeah. And I think this is the first time I ever drank tea with milk because it always seemed like such a weird concept to me. Yeah. But actually, I didn't mind it. Like, I mean, I'm not going to start drinking it here because I just, but I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Cool.
So, when is the usual time you would eat breakfast? Like, this is a certain food, and we'll get into what Germans usually eat because obviously you now live in Germany and maybe there's a couple of things you find odd here. So I would love to...
I've been too long here to find anything odd now.
You can think back from when you just got here and you're like, oh, this is weird. And I'll share some stuff that my American friends, when they got over here, where they were like, what? This is weird. Like, we don't have that. So we'll compare a little bit. Yeah. But what is the typical time you would eat breakfast?
So if children go to school, they would have breakfast at 7 a.m., 7:30. People going to the office would do the same. If it's a Sunday, you would have it 8 a.m. But people usually get up quite early. So that's the time. I think 8 a.m. is the latest you would have your breakfast. Yeah.
All right. Well, that seems like we can maybe start our comparison there. Seems like about the same as in Germany. I would say maybe on the weekends, people, well, I tend to sleep in very long, but people usually maybe stay up a little longer or sleep in a little longer. So they will maybe go to the bakery and buy some, buns or rolls in the morning, and then they will eat with their family at around 9 or 10 or so. That was when I was a kid. We usually ate around that time. But then again, we love to sleep. So
yeah, of course. Who doesn't?
Okay, so can you think of something that when you came to Germany, we're switching to the German breakfast food now, and then we'll work our way through the day. Is there something that you found very odd when you first got here regarding breakfast foods?
Yeah, so, I mean, again, from back then, right? So, first of all, people usually think all Indians are vegetarians, which is not the case, like a lot of meat is eaten in India. Usually it's mostly chicken because, there are religions in India. Let's say for Hindus, you don't really eat beef because cows are, right? Yeah. And for Muslims, pig is not
pork. Yeah,
pork. Right. You won't eat pork as a Muslim in India. So because of this, there's a lot of chicken being eaten in India.
I heard it's healthier though. Like I heard like chicken meat is in general not as bad for everything. Is like, you have to make your own dietary decisions, obviously, and I think nothing will be super bad for you if you take it in doses. Like if you eat like 2 steaks every day, maybe that's unhealthy, but if you eat like 10 chickens every day, it's probably also unhealthy. But in general, I heard like chicken meat is considered pretty healthy.
Yeah, people who do bodybuilding, they eat chicken a lot. I think they say that it's a really good source of protein. So yeah. Anyways, it's eaten a lot, but you don't have this thing like cold meat, right? Like you have here in Germany, like Wurst, and which you don't really have to heat up before eating.
Oh, like salami and stuff like that.
And stuff, right? This was something that was strange to me because I didn't know about this concept at all, right? Another thing which wasn't really strange, but which I loved a lot, were Brötchen, and I still love them.
So that's rolls or buns, basically?
Buns. Yeah. You don't have that many in India. The only thing you have or used to have was bread. Either it was white bread or brown bread, You didn't really have these rolls that we have in Germany. Now people can buy these over there as well. Not all of them, by the way. I think Germany is quite unique when it comes to the types of rolls you can buy, types of Brötchen you can buy.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that as well, by the way. I think that was a different thing as well for me. Otherwise, there wasn't really anything that struck to me to be very, very strange.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So when my American friends, shout out to them, hopefully you're listening, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, when they visited me for the first time, that was back in 2010 maybe? I think it was 2010. Okay. So like 10 years ago. I think that's right. Anyway, so back then, I think that's the first time they visited me, and they were really surprised by also the breakfast selection that we have, because in America a lot of people eat breakfast warm. Like we talked about hash browns, which is like a dish made by having potatoes grated and stuff like that, and then they also have bacon, they have pancakes, there's a lot of different breakfast foods, and sure, they also have sandwiches, but something that's not very common there, and I can attest of that, is having like cold breakfast where you have a selection of meats and cheeses and you just put it on bread or rolls and eat it. So that is like a concept that isn't really common there. I guess now they have more bakeries, like French bakeries and German bakeries, so they start to get the taste of it maybe. Yeah. But for me, it was like, sure, breakfast is bread, and I still to this day keep cheese, salami, like jam or marmalade, and bread in my fridge so for my breakfast, that's what I eat. Like some people obviously eat cereal, that's also big in the US, but I love that cold selection. So when we came, or then when they came here and we went shopping in Germany together, first of all, it struck them that we had so many cheeses. Like the cheese selection was huge. To be fair though, I saw a couple of stores in the US that also had a good cheese selection, but still, like, it struck them that just any regular store would have like a huge cheese selection, but that's just what it is. And then bread. Yeah. So in the US, when you have rolls, usually you talk about the squishy rolls, like the ones that are not really, it's like all uniformly squishy, and you eat that as a side dish for if you have corn on a cob, it's on a barbecue or something like that. But here, our rolls are hard on the outside, or at least crispy on the outside, and then soft on the inside. So if you have really good rolls, you can like crackle them and it makes a satisfying sound. Yeah. And then they're soft on the inside. Yeah. And sometimes the best if they're fresh out of the oven, they're still a little warm, and it's amazing. The butter melts. And as you said, we have so many different rolls. Toppings are different, the actual dough is different for them, but then again, we also have so many different just bread types in general. So when there's black bread, it's what's called here Schwarzbrot, black bread. When I tried to buy that in the US, I got like pumpernickel bread. And I was like, oh, this isn't the same. And I ate it, sure, but it didn't taste as good. And I would argue you could buy one of the, was that my doorbell? No, right? Sorry.
I didn't hear it.
No, sorry. It was. I was. So you can probably buy one of the cheapest breads,
Yeah.
and it still tastes very good
Okay.
here. So I mean, yeah, and that's honestly, we talk about this pretty much every episode, I feel like. But I used to live in the U.S. for exchange student year, and then again later. But during that first year I've ever been to the U.S., that's one of the things I missed most.
Yeah.
I didn't miss a lot of things, but I missed breakfast. Not necessarily breakfast, but just bread, good bread.
Yeah.
However, if you ask me now, I miss Bojangles. Have you heard of Bojangles?
What's that?
So Bojangles, it's a southern thing, like probably mostly on the East Coast, I want to say. And they serve breakfast all day, but their breakfast is like, you can get like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit, like just the biscuit, like the soft biscuit, and then you put bacon, egg, and cheese in between it, and then you have like and then you get fries, or you can get chicken. And a lot of people in Germany wouldn't consider this as breakfast. So when my parents came over to the US, they were like, this isn't breakfast for us. Yeah. But anyway, so I think in Germany, a lot of the food is cold, breakfast foods, stuff you put on your bread, but also, just eggs, scrambled eggs or plain eggs. I think that's something that's pretty common as well.
Yeah. So I can understand why people miss rolls, why people miss their bread, their brötchen. I've talked to actually a lot of Germans who used to be expats, who came back to Germany or are still expats, and I always ask them what do they miss the most when they are, let's say, in the US. I talked to someone who was in China for like 3-4 years, and they always say, we miss brötchen, we miss the rolls.
The rolls are the thing that everybody misses, right? Everybody misses.
So I think we should tell everyone Alex is expecting a packet, right?
I'm expecting a package, yeah. And there's also some stuff in there that will make this podcast better. Hopefully, there's a new microphone in there. It's not technically a podcast microphone, but we have some plans, right? At some point, we should maybe tell our listeners that we have some plans to make this a little bit more professional and better. But anyway, so you were talking about that a lot of people miss the rolls and the bread selection.
Yeah. So I was just saying I can understand that. Coming back to the difference between hot breakfast and the cold one, I think this is also, I did not mention this, but this is also the difference between Indian, like the Punjabi breakfast, and the German one. No one eats anything cold in breakfast in India.
Okay, so it's like, okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
So maybe let's move on in a day.
Yeah.
What is the next meal or something you eat during the day? Is the next one lunch, or is there something in between?
Tea. There's 10 a.m., 11 a.m. tea. Okay. Almost always in India.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, especially for people who live at their, who don't go out and work, like mostly in India, those are housewives. Nowadays, a lot of women have started working, but back in the day, like if I think about my mom's generation, not even a single, maybe there was like 1% of the women population that used to work, but others were all housewives, and they would have their tea at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. with biscuits, talk to other ladies in the area. We call them aunties because, everyone is an auntie. There's no one like Mrs. Y. Everyone is like auntie. You call everyone uncles, aunties. And aunties used to get together, have tea. Then they would talk about everything that's been going on. They would gossip, and, it's really interesting. Even if you're at work, a lot of people working in the banks, in the offices, they would also have their tea around 10, 11 a.m. And you can go there and they might have to deal with anything urgent. But if they're having their tea, they're not going to talk to you. They are just going to there are videos on YouTube where you can literally see people standing in a queue and this person enjoying their tea.
They're like, not until I'm done.
Exactly. Tea is important in India.
That is interesting. Well, that's cool. I mean, you got to have your rituals and stuff. So that makes, a country and the culture special. Yeah. Do you think there's anything that compares to this in Germany?
Yeah, I mean, people do have their coffee over here as well. I mean, in an office, we always, I mean, we don't, both of us don't drink coffee, but we would have something else, tea or anything. People do that over here as well. The difference is it's not usually like gossiping with each other or talking to each other while having, you would work and then you would have, while working, you would have your tea.
Yeah. And also I would say, at least for me, it's not something where I'm set on a different time that I would be like, oh, I need to have like, sometimes I will go through an entire morning without a tea. And then today, for example, before you got here, I made myself a tea. So like, I'm not really religious about it in the sense of that I will like, or really habitual about it, where every day I would do this. But I did grow up, and while I was growing up in family, I saw my parents drink a lot of tea all the time, so I also started drinking tea. And there was only a short period of time where I drank coffee, but honestly, it wasn't that good for me, so I stopped. I only drink it really occasionally now.
I don't like coffee. I think people might find this very strange. I don't like the taste. My wife loves it. She has to have her coffee like twice a day, but I can't.
Yeah, just between us, like when I drank coffee, my coffee was either like a latte macchiato, like just with a lot of like milk.
Exactly.
So that's like the only thing I drink, and then even then I put a lot of sugar in it.
Same here.
Or if I drank like regular coffee, it was like I would fill it up with like creamer or milk, and then I would put a lot of sugar in it. So
I can't drink regular coffee. If I have coffee, it's latte macchiato, 100%.
Same here. Yeah. Okay, so that's the one thing. I would say there was, or at least there is a commercial in Germany, the Knoppers commercial. You know that one?
I know the product. I don't know the commercial.
I would say like definitely the majority of the population knows this. So it was the commercial would say, oh gosh, I can't get this wrong. Morgens 9:30 in Deutschland. And I think it's still that, or well, maybe I should look. Well, I guess yeah, I'll look it up really quick. Yeah. I think it's morgens 9:30. I don't want to get the timing wrong. Let me see. Knoppers morgens. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's definitely 9:30. Yep. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. You can still find a lot of those ads on YouTube or wherever you get your videos. If you haven't seen them, Google it or put it in YouTube or whatever. It's called Morgens 9:30 in Deutschland. If you can't spell that, well, I guess we'll maybe link a video or something like that down below. So like 9:30 a.m., this product, which is basically like a small, like 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter, like square
wafer, sort of wafer,
like wafer, yeah, like a waffle wafer. Yeah. But then it had like the like doughy part, the like outside, the crispy part. Then it had some chocolate, some milk cream, some like hazelnut spread, some other stuff in there, and it's basically like a mini candy bar ish type, but it's still considered breakfast food. So like if you talk about like Knoppers, like in like 9:30 a.m., it kind of like made its name by having this like breakfast food, which isn't breakfast anymore, because you would in those advertisement spots, you would see people like walking around in the streets, and then they're like at their job, and then it's like 9:30 and they get their Knoppers and eat that. So yeah, you can still buy it. I don't think they make that many commercials anymore. Not sure why, but I just don't watch any TV anymore, so maybe I just don't see it.
Same here. Haven't watched TV. Like, I do watch Netflix a lot. I shouldn't watch that much.
Oh, have you heard about that new... Sorry, we're drifting off here, but that new German series, Biohackers?
No, I haven't.
I binged that yesterday, the entire season. Like, there's only one season. I started it yesterday, and I watched the entire thing. I think it's really good.
Yeah?
Yeah, and it was filmed in Germany, so you can actually listen to it in German, because usually I listen to it in the original language, and it's all American, like English.
I've watched City of God in Portuguese. I don't understand any Portuguese at all.
No, I haven't done that. I did not do that. But yeah, check it out. It's like about biohacking and like plants and gen modification, CRISPR. Maybe it's not for everyone. Maybe I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. But is it like fiction, or is it more mockumentary sort of thing?
No, I would say it's like, see, all the Netflix series are usually really dark, and I would also consider this one rather dark. Okay. It's not as dark as the Netflix series called Dark, so I wouldn't say it's as gloomy, but it still has a lot of that, night scenes. It's dark. It's something negative happening. It's like stuff like that. But I would say it's set in the present day, mostly, or probably all of it. It's just present day, and then it's touching on science parts, which are definitely possible.
Okay.
But I wouldn't call it realistic. Like if you're like they're just synthesizing what is it called? Like they're synthesizing certain like DNA stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, and I'll just do this, and it takes like an hour or a couple of minutes, and they're like done with that. And I'm not sure it's that easy, but it's in general something that's possible.
Yeah. Do they also use computers like, oh, I'm hacking something?
No, actually, the computer part is not that bad, because the only time they actually showed computers is when they logged into accounts where they either knew the password or where they didn't, and where they didn't know the password, it didn't work, and then they looked over the shoulder of someone getting the password. So I mean, it's still but it's okay.
Social engineering. I can believe that more than people entering one Linux command and everything, being hacked.
Done. I agree. But sorry, we're drifting off here. So that's Netflix. Sorry. But that commercial is still something that I think shaped the entire German country, basically, in society. It's like, 9:30 a.m., you gotta have your Knoppers.
That's what marketing does. Again, I mean, not to drift off again, but the concept of buying the engagement ring. How did that start?
Oh, that was from
Tiffany started that, right?
Yeah.
And you have to pay like 3 months salary or something. I think
they made some random thing up. Yeah.
And everyone is buying that. Everyone is doing that.
Yeah, and they controlled a huge part of the diamond market at some point as well. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And they also say that Santa was created by Coca-Cola. I'm not 100% sure about this, but
I mean, there's the Holy Saint Nicholas or something, which was a figure appearing, but yeah, maybe the Santa itself was.
I think the one with the red suit and the beard, I think that was the marketing thing.
Not sure, but it would make sense because Coca-Cola, red, right? All right. So that's Germany and India for the breakfast and intermediate, and then is the next one in India lunch?
Lunch, yeah,
okay,
lunch,
so
exactly. So if you're a child, you would take your lunch box with you.
Interesting. What would be in that lunch box?
Paranthas.
Paranthas. So the same thing you would have for breakfast.
Yeah, but these would be like the simple ones with some kind of we call it sabzi. Sabzi is usually it will be some kind of vegetables cooked in Indian style, like with a lot of spices, and it can be different things. It can be in northern India, potatoes are eaten a lot. This is something I loved about Germany as well, because potatoes are eaten a lot over here as well. So you could make sabzi, this thing out of potatoes. You could use lady fingers. You could use different. Some people do also meat as well.
What are lady fingers?
These are, I don't know what they are called. Okras, sorry, okras. My Indian English sometimes comes out. You don't know okras?
No, I don't know okras.
Okay.
Sounds like some random food I've never heard of.
Let me check here what it's called in German.
Would the samsi be in the dough though, like the potatoes were when we ate breakfast, or would it be on the side? So would you have it with the food? Is it like in the dough or with?
No, it is something on the side. You
on
would
side.
have
Okay.
it on the side. I think okra is a German word.
Really?
Yeah. This is it. Can you see my screen?
Look here. Oh my! Oh gosh. Sure, I guess. Never seen it. It's like a fruit that has like a star shape when you cut it.
Yeah, and some seeds in it. You can remove the seeds before you cook it.
Well, I guess look up okra. It's literally OKRA. So
it's supposed to be healthy as well, so lots of vitamins and stuff. So
sure, if you've ever tried that, if you're watching this on YouTube, leave a comment down below. I would be really interested. I've never had okra in my life.
You'd be surprised how many people have tried it.
Oh gosh, this is where my non-food part comes through, because we should say, like, you love cooking, right?
I do. I think that's one of my passions that makes me. Whenever I'm cooking, I'm happy. So, this is something because the kind of work we do, like I work as a technical consultant, you do the same. We have huge projects. We try to help our clients, and sometimes you do not really see the results immediately, right?
Yes.
And when I cook for like an hour, and I will have something that came out of it, right? So that makes me so happy. That's why I want to start doing some carpentry as well. I think these kind of things make you happy. At least makes me happy.
I completely agree. When I was living in Berlin, I actually started building some of my own furniture. And after that, because I pretty much always worked in tech and digital stuff. So like, let's say you're building a machine learning model, which I from time to time have to do. Like, it's just numbers. Like, there's numbers on a screen, and that's all cool. But when you do something in the real world and it shows, that's when it gets exciting for me. Yeah. It's not to say that this is not exciting work. It's amazing. Sometimes it's really cool what you can derive from data and stuff like that. But the moment it touches like a production line, where it touches like a warehouse, or where you build something with your own hands or make food, I think that's still a different level of satisfaction that you will... I don't think I will ever get from just having it digitally.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, something very interesting, one of my friends said to me once, he was like, after our studies, we studied together, and he started working as consultant, as did I, and, as a business consultant. But he wanted to change as soon as possible. He said, I want to go more into like cloud area, and I want to start developing things. I want to do things that matter. That's what he said. And I asked him, why are you saying this? And he said, think tomorrow there's a crisis, financial crisis. All the jobs are gone, right? What do you think? Are you going to earn your bread by trying to consult people, like trying to give people advice on how to create their strategy? Exactly. He said even what he was doing, like the cloud thing, that might not be usable for a lot of smaller people, normal people, like not the business people, but still it is something that he could develop things. He could, even if he can go to a bakery and say, I can digitize your whole system or something, he could help them. He was DevOps guy later. Yeah. But if it's just like you are trying to sell, like in German they say heiße Luft,
hot air,
it's not going to help you.
Sure. I mean, there's, I guess, a case to be made for either one. Yeah. But coming back to your passion, so you love cooking. Yes. I've picked it up during the quarantine time in Germany as well, because I completely stopped eating out. I think I've only eaten out like once or twice during the pandemic time at all.
Wow, that's discipline.
Yeah, and then only if I could sit outside where there's obviously good ventilation because you're outside. Because there was like a recent study saying that most of it is like in China, like only one person got it outside, and then most of like 99% basically got it inside. So I still like try to minimize any time inside with a lot of people.
But do you order food?
No. So I also completely stopped doing that, and I still haven't done any ordering. Okay. So I never really used to go out and eat that many times a week, but I would like fairly often like just get like pizza, or like delivered to me, or I would go to Subway. I think everybody knows Subway, right? The sandwich place. Yeah, and I would just drive there because there's one like 5 or 6 minutes from my house. Yeah, at the train station, S-Bahn-Poppenbüttel.
Okay. I didn't know there was a Subway.
Yeah, there's a Subway, and usually, I would just go there, pick it up, and then eat it at home or something like that. So there was a regularity that I would eat out-ish. Yeah. But since I stopped doing that, I started, doing some stuff. So I started baking some. I baked some bread rolls, like the rolls. Yeah. Like the biggest quarantine food for me is Flammkuchen, tart flambe. It's like the thing I do like 2 or 3, like at least one a week, I would say.
That's also easier to make than a lot of other foods, right? If you have the base, at least.
Yes. So, but I make it all from scratch. Like
wow.
I don't do like the pre-made dough or anything. And I used to do the pre-made pizza dough, but I now bought my last one, and I will start making that from scratch as well.
Wow. That does take a little bit of time, though.
Yes, that one has, like, the dough has to sit for at least an hour, so it's a little longer. But, you're at home. It just doesn't really matter that much to me anymore.
Yeah. I did do pizza like from scratch once or twice at home. We had this class together once where we learned Mike to.
Oh yeah, like the cooking class. I remember. Yeah.
I did try that. It was really, really nice. I have to say, the pizza I made from scratch was really nice, but it takes so much time. And then you say,
Yeah, it does. But you know what? Talking about all of this, we will you will have your cooking channel. Like we'll do this. We've been talking about this. You should really start.
Yeah, I do want to. Let's see when it happens.
Yeah, we'll get that. Anyway, back to the actual topic. Sorry, we drifted off for quite some time here. Lunch. So school children would have basically the same they had for breakfast with some other side dish, samsi. What else is there typical?
So a lot of women would cook food for their husbands, give them tiffins if they are housewives, like put everything in a tiffin, and the men would.
Tiffin is just like
It's just like a lunchbox. You will have stuff in there. And people, like also women who work in offices, they would take their own tiffin. Everyone takes most of the people would take their lunch with them to the work.
And what's in there? Also the same for the children as for the children?
For the children as well, they would take.
Well, no, but the food that's in the tiffin for the working.
I don't really. So for children, those are those are simple things like, if it's something liquidy, children there's a danger that they would spill it. But you wouldn't give them curries and stuff.
For adults, is there like soups or anything in there?
For curries, it would be something like soup. So lentil soup, or it can be curries and stuff. So it'll be a little bit different for adults than for children. I would say that's at least my experience. I think there's one thing we should talk about here, which is like a very unique concept to actually just to a city in India. It does not happen everywhere in India, but it happens in Mumbai. So there are these people called dabbawalas, and Harvard once did a study on them to see how their whole business works, and they said that this is one of the most efficient logistic systems in the world.
I definitely saw like a documentary about them at least once. Yes. Okay, but go ahead.
So what they basically do is a housewife, again, they would cook food at their home, like let's say around 10, 11 a.m. After everyone goes to school, to work, they would cook their food, and then they would pack it in a lunchbox, right? And this lunchbox is like 3 or 4 tiers. You would have different things in it, like really nice, really tasty things, and homemade. And then a person would come to your home and they would take this box from you, and this box will go through like 4 or 5 or 8 different people, and it will reach the man or the person working in the office, and they would have home cooked food in the office.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they say like the chances of going something wrong is like 0.01%. Like you're not getting your box is 0.01% or something.
So, but the wives only cook for their men.
Yeah, that was the concept. I think things are changing now a lot. So in India, I mean, modern women, I have huge amount of respect for them. Also not modern women, because even if they did not work, they were doing a lot of work in the house, outside as well. But these days, everyone is working. If you're a woman or a man, it does not matter. Any gender, it does not matter. You would go and work. And then this thing, I think this dabbawala concept does not work anymore, because if no one is at home, then no one can send you food.
So maybe it's more like commercial soup kitchens or something, producing like more mass foods and that.
Yeah, I think there will be some new concepts, or maybe there already are. I'm not aware of that, but this used to be the concept. If it hasn't changed already, it's going to change, I think, in the future. But main thing I wanted to stress here is people really want to have their home cooked meal in India.
I was about to say, so usually it's that people won't eat in like a canteen or anything during their job.
A lot of young people would do because you want to taste as many things. So when I was a child, there was almost no fast food in India. Like there was Indian fast food, which wasn't that fast because Indian food takes time,
Indian fast food, get your food in an hour and a half only. We're faster.
it's not like a burger that you can put together in 2 minutes, right? It's a
Probably
bit
like
different.
maybe some curry or something.
There were some things, so you would have pre-cooked curry, and then you could make that in 5 minutes.
I love like curry with a little bit of chicken and rice and stuff like that.
Chicken curry, I mean, that's tasty as well. I guess I'm almost a vegetarian, so I have eaten chicken before, but I don't really.
Have you ever cooked curry yourself?
Yeah, a lot of the times I cooked curry like last week already. Yeah.
Also with rice or?
Yeah. So I usually eat it with bread. I think rice is. I love rice, by the way, basmati rice. I love it, but it's not something that is eaten that much in northern India. So basically, if you go to like Bengal, like in East India, or if you go to South India, you will have a lot of rice. So some people would even eat rice for breakfast, but in northern India, that's not really a lot. It's not eaten a lot. Yeah.
So lunch is then usually home cooked stuff.
Yeah.
I guess now, younger people, universities, it's like you buy some stuff, but still, yeah.
Nowadays, there are so many chains also in India. So any chain, we were talking about Subway, you can find Subway everywhere in India.
It's global.
Yeah, right. You can find McDonald's. But I can still remember when the first McDonald's opened in where I used to live near.
Wow.
It was not that long ago, I think 15 years ago in Jalandhar. Yeah. And McDonald's is like a huge deal. It's like, it's not like here. It's a special place you go to. It's not like, and it's also not cheap. A lot of Indian food is a lot cheaper, a lot healthier, a lot tastier than McDonald's. But McDonald's is you would say, a lot of youngsters would want to go there because it's modern.
I would say in Germany it's also not the cheapest food you can get. Like a doner kebab, which is basically like it didn't originate in Turkey. The meat on a stick, and then it rotates, and then it's like gyros, basically like the Greek stuff. That definitely originated, I think, somewhere else. But the actual doner kebab was a German invention where somebody wanted to sell it to business people, and they just put it in a bread, and they were like, oh, it's easier to eat this way.
Yeah, I think a lot of our Turkish listeners would argue now it was created in Germany, but by a Turkish person.
Yes, it was by a Turkish. No, I don't want to steal any credit, and to whoever that was, thank you.
I mean, Germans have created a lot of other things, so.
I know, but when I was in Berlin, because I think Berlin has the best donors, I would eat, it was like to an unhealthy amount. I would whenever, because I had one minute from my apartment, like 1 minute, and it was open 24/7. Yeah. So like.
But it's tasty. It's cheap. It's not healthy though. But anyway.
Well, I mean, you can get a veggie doner.
Yeah. So. If you're a young person, it doesn't matter, to be honest.
No, and even let's say that food itself, the meat itself is pretty. I would say that it has a lot of fat in it, sure. But then you put salad and stuff in it, and the bread itself isn't unhealthy, really, and the salad and stuff isn't unhealthy. So I would say it's probably still a better food than if you eat an entirely fried chicken with French fries.
Yeah, I agree. But I think it also has a lot of salt in it. So, if you have blood pressure problems or something, it might.
Yeah, that's the meat then again. Yeah. So.
Anyways, it's tasty. So I once stood in a line in a queue for 1.5 hours in Berlin to get one doner.
Oh, the special one. Yeah.
Mustafa's, I think it's called.
Or I don't get the name. I'm bad with names, but still.
It was 7 or 8 years ago, but I heard from someone that it's still the case. Like people still queue up over there. And
I think it's actually for that veggie doner place.
Yeah. It is veggie. Yeah. It's really, really tasty. I loved it.
And it's pretty cheap as well.
It's pretty cheap. I think I paid 3.5 or 4 euros.
Yeah, and it only creeps up slightly with the other prices. But that's what I'm saying. Also for me in Germany, McDonald's was something special my parents would take us to. Yeah. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so for me it was this way. It changed now because when I'm on the road, currently not that much, but still when I'm traveling, I drive a Tesla, so usually superchargers are at stops where there's a Burger King or a McDonald's, which is convenient, and then it just starts becoming a food place for fast food while your car's charging, for example. Yeah. And definitely makes sense. And McDonald's changed, they also have some healthier food options now. And it's definitely interesting to see in the US, McDonald's has a lot of other options than it has in Germany, like the Quarter Pounder, stuff like that. You just don't get that here.
Oh, okay. I haven't been to McDonald's in the US. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, if you ever get the chance, you should. It's actually a different. And the US, in like the McDonald's in the US in the South, they serve sweet tea. Yeah. And it's actually one of the better sweet teas, I would say. It tastes really, like, I love it. But yeah.
You know what? Last time I was in the US, was talking to my colleagues and they told me, oh, no one goes to McDonald's here. Only like if you are really, really drunk or you are really broke, then you would go to the McDonald's. But maybe it's just a New York thing,
Yeah, I would say, New York definitely different because they have a lot of awesome other food like tacos and other stuff. And, and also there, it's like McDonald's is, I would say, a little more for the people with not that much money because in the US, it is pretty cheap. Yeah. But here, again, I would say it's not the cheapest option. Unfortunately, some people still consider it like, especially, I don't want to sound mean, but some people with less income, and you can see they're a little bit fatter, just, and they'll take their kids there. And I'm like, God, this is not helping. But
it's like, for me, it's like pot calling the kettle black. But anyways.
Oh, gosh. No, not like that. But okay. Anyway, we'll move on from that. So, lunch in India is that way. Lunch in Germany, I would say, is a lot more nuanced. There's different options. I know a couple of people who were really, really keen on having their own food at work, like even at their main job. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. But some offices will offer you like a microwave, and then you can heat up your own food. So where I worked before, that was the case. And I knew like one or two people who would actually like every day bring it to save money, because in my old job, you would have to, as I guess most people, I should say, pay for your food in the canteen. It would be reduced by a certain amount, but still, and the food was okay, but sometimes you would pay a lot of money. Like I remember my last meal, I guess that was my last meal. I like treated myself, but it was like 15 euros or something, which is crazy. Like if you pay that every day, that's in a week. Only in 1 week, you would have like 75 euros for food. And to be fair, it's not all that much. Like you could eat for like 5-6 euros, I guess, but it's still some money you'd have to pay. So some people, I guess, takes their own food, but most of them I would say that are working would.
When I used to work for, like, not for this company, I mean, of course, we get lunch, breakfast, etc. Yeah. In our company right now, like, always there, free of cost.
Not right now.
Right now, because we are not going to the office, but technically, if we would go to the office, we would get it, right? But like in my earlier company, I used to eat out every day. Yeah. And I saw that it costs a lot of money first, because I think you always pay like at least 12-13 euros when you go.
Oh, you mean like going out, not in the canteen, but also like out?
Exactly. Okay, there was no canteen over there. It was right in the city, and there were like a lot of options.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I would like sometimes go out at work, but yeah, okay, go ahead.
It would cost a little bit of money, but then I saw that it was so bad for my health. Like eating out every day, it's not healthy, man.
Well, it depends. Like when I eat out, actually, I like to do something like a salad or something, where I'm just too like lazy to do it myself.
If I'm going to pay 13-14 euros, I'm not going to eat a salad.
I like a lot of the places I went out to, I have like Caesar salad. Like,
really? Okay. Yeah. But even Caesar salad, if there's a lot of cream in it, I once had a Caesar salad at like one of the good restaurants here.
It's healthier than a burger.
Yeah, I agree. Still not healthy. I mean, if it is a lot of cream. If it's not a lot of cream, then it's good.
Yeah. I mean, what do you consider healthy, what not? Like I think it's you have to compare it to your other stuff. Like is bread healthy? Well, it doesn't have any like a lot of fat in it, but it still has sugar and yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, coming back to, I mean, that was lunch, right? So mostly home cooked meal you would either take with you, and some cities you will get it delivered, and that's what you eat. And then there will be again tea in the evening, like at 4 or 5 p.m. and there will be biscuits with tea again. So
nice. Yeah. So in Germany, when we have lunch, it's the food is usually, I would call it like rustical. I mean, there's a bunch of Italian places now, Turkish places. We talked about this. So like from pizza over to doner, over to like anything else, like Greek places, we have a lot of selection. If you want to talk, like if you want to go, or if you would go to a like traditional German place, a lot of foods are potatoes also. Yeah, like pan potatoes, what is it, like Bratkartoffeln, like Bratkartoffeln.
Very tasty though, very yummy.
Yeah. Usually with a like little bit of onions and some bacon in there or something. So that's what you would get. Or a baked potato is also something you can get here in Germany.
Is it called jacket potato? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Baked? Yeah.
But anyway, so there's a lot of just usually you would eat warm. And Germany is also famous for a lot of soups, right? We would have a lot of different soups, not only for like your first course, but for your main course. You would sometimes get a soup, like tomato soup, goulash soup. Like there's a bunch of different soups, and we loved like noodle soup, and our family loved them, so we'd eat a lot. Yeah, it was just my sister's birthday. Shout out to her. I don't think she's listening to this, but if she was, happy birthday again, sis. She wanted from my parents as her birthday, she wanted like soups. So like we had like 2 different soups and we ate soup together. So.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Yeah. Cool. So we are a soup family. But anyway, so that's warm meal, lunch, and I guess mostly people eat out now or go to the canteen, but some still take some stuff. And when I was in university, I would also go to the canteen, have something there, sometimes cold because I was just in a hurry and didn't have time to eat like warm food, but some people also took their own. So yeah.
Okay.
And in school it differs also. But when I was a school kid, it was usually still like I would get home and I would have lunch with my family.
Oh, okay.
Was it the same for you? Well, I guess no, yours was packed, the lunch, right?
Yeah, we would. So in India, school used to be longer than in Germany. I think it used to be 7 hours, 6, 7.
Yeah, I want to say ours changed though. Like as I got, and like as my school life progressed, like school also started changing a bit, and we're in school longer. Then we had the first actual meals in our school. So yeah, I guess it did change.
Yeah. But did you take something with you as well?
Yes, I always did, and it was always bread. Sometimes an apple, but usually it was bread, and. Yeah, it was bread with like salami or cheese in there or something. And the funny thing is, when I went to the US high school, I still did that. Because in the US you had, or at least at my high school, you had every day you had 4 different classes, and it was 1.5 hours for each class. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, because our school was a big school, like a couple thousand students, they couldn't all get lunch at the same time. So you would have 2 different lunch breaks. One lunch break was after the first 2 periods, so basically at half day, which is ideal because that's when I want to eat lunch.
When you're hungry.
But the other lunch period was after the 3rd one. Okay. So that was really late. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't, I was hungry at that time. So I did the German thing and had my bread. I had the black, pumpernickel bread, and I put salami in there. And people were like, what are you eating there? Yeah.
Stop bringing food with you.
But so that was the thing. And then you just mentioned that you had tea again. I would say there's also a thing in Germany, especially with elderly people, I think. They have their afternoon tea. But not only elderly people, I would say. I know definitely one family who always has their usually with some cake or something, and then they have their tea or something.
Kaffee and Kuchen.
Yeah, Kaffee and Kuchen. Coffee and cake. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, by the way.
I love it too, and a lot of bakeries here in Germany, so you have a good selection for that.
Some really good cakes. By the way, it took me a long time to understand the difference between a torte and Kuchen. So basically in India, we don't have that. A cake is a cake, right? So, and I used to call everything Kuchen, but yeah. After a few years, I learned that there's a difference.
Me too. Yeah. So you want to explain it to the listeners? So what is the difference, the main difference between torte and Kuchen?
So I think torte is something more creamy, right? And Kuchen is something baked, and you can have fruits in it. You can have different things. I think that's the main difference.
Yeah. I haven't looked up the official one, but I would definitely agree with you. Usually cakes are, I would say, drier. They're drier things that you would do, and then torte is something where usually you'd have it in a round thing. The Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte has a lot of cream. It usually has a solid foundation, like a solid layer in the bottom, but then it would have, even a cheesecake is a different kind of torte here in Germany as well. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool.
All right. So then, last course of the day, right? Is it dinner?
That is dinner. That is
What time do you eat dinner in India?
quite late,
Quite late.
to be honest. So I'm trying to, I mean, a lot of people are trying to change now because they see, okay, it shouldn't be that late. It's quite heavy in India. Again, those are most of the time are curries, sometimes lentil soups, and you would always eat it with bread called chapati. Chapati is basically it made from the same dough as paranthas, but it is it's called roti in Punjabi, by the way. It just no oil is applied on it while cooking it.
And what does it do to it? It makes it
It's like tortillas.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it makes it crispy.
It makes it a little bit crispy. It also, like, sometimes when my mom used to cook it, or when my wife does it sometimes, it's like it blows up.
Oh, because there's some air in it and it expands. And
Looks amazing. And then you like slap it a little bit, steam comes out. It's awesome. But it's still quite heavy, right? So people have realized now, like my parents eat quite early at 6 p.m. already. But usually it's like 8 p.m., 9 p.m. for a lot of, it's similar to like if you go to some of the southern European countries like Spain or Italy.
yeah, definitely dinner is really late there.
Yeah, and dinner is the time when you get together as a family, when you would sit together, talk to each other. It's always warm as well. And there's sometimes salad with it. We say salad, but usually it's like onions, raw onions, or it's like cabbage. Do you know cabbage, right?
Yeah.
So, and what's gherkin called in English? I tend to forget.
Gorka is called cucumber.
Cucumber.
Dang, yeah, should have known that.
Cold as a cucumber. I should have remembered that. Anyways.
So wait, you said onions, just onions for a salad?
Yeah, raw. You would have those as well with cabbage. Yeah, you can eat like the red onions.
Yeah, I mean those ones over there, right? I have them right there.
Exactly those ones. So if you have them with your curry, they would taste really good, believe me.
Interesting. Yeah. So for everybody who's not, I mean, I guess everybody kind of has their own idea what curry is, but what is it in the traditional Indian way?
Oh, wow. It's actually, so I say curry, but it's different for every family. Every family have their own recipe.
See, and that's interesting because curry here is like a really like standardized dish, I would say, in Germany, if you go to like an Indian restaurant.
Yeah. No, that's not the case in India. So curry is a mixture of different spices. And you would use tomatoes in it, like tomato puree, or you would use fresh tomatoes, make puree out of that, and onions, etc. So basically, spices are different for every family. Like everyone makes according to their own recipe.
Okay, but is there something that's in there that's always in there that makes it a curry?
There's always going to be pepper, like the black one or the red one, red chili in it. There will be things like cardamom in it. There will be curcuma. Do you know what curcuma is?
No. But the curry itself, like from the ingredients, that's all the spices that go in there. But is there also some like main ingredient that always makes it curry?
Yeah. So there are some main ingredients, and as I was saying, I think it's called curcuma. It's one of the main ingredients, and then other things like red chili, then things I can't remember that.
But you just said tomato, like tomato, is that always in there?
Tomatoes are always in there in a curry, and onions are always in the curry. There are some people like in Jainism, that's a religion, also a smaller religion from India. You are not allowed to eat onions. Anything basically that grows. It's a fascinating religion as well.
Wow.
So if you're a Jain, you are like, that's the, how do you say, epitome of non-violence. So basically a Jain, like a person who is very strict, Jain would, when they are walking, they would look at the floor so that they don't step on an ant or anything. So yeah, I think there was this huge discussion. Sam Harris he's one of the, I'm getting into different topics over here, but he is a neuroscientist. I think he talks a lot about different religions, etc. And he was talking about non-violent religion, and he brought up Jainism as well. And basically, and one of the other things about their religion is that they would not eat things like onions, and I think there's a certain specific thinking behind it. I don't really know that right now.
Okay.
But anyways, if anyone wants to look up, other families would definitely always have onions and tomatoes in a curry.
And what about chicken or other meats? Is this something that's common or?
Yeah, it's not as common as here. It's always used to be something special to be made on special occasions.
So the default is basically your spices, your onions, your tomato. Is there anything else in because here I basically only know it with like rice or anything. But that's not the case, right? You said like bread.
Yeah, its default is bread in northern Indian Punjab, right?
Sure. Yeah, we're talking
Exactly. And yeah, you always eat your curries with bread, and there will be some people who would eat rice as well, but that's the minority, I would say.
Okay.
So sometimes you would have yogurt as well with your curries, and tastes really good. Everyone makes their own yogurt at home.
Oh.
So yeah, you have this, what is it called, yeast thing, this culture that you use.
Yeah, yogurt kulturen. Yeah, the yogurt cultures, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are families that have had this in their in the family since years and years.
Wow, like basically like a sourdough where it's like you have a
Okay. If you don't have it, you would go to your neighbor and ask them for some of the yogurt, and then you would make it out of it.
So you get a homemade one. I guess you could also buy it, right?
You could also buy it, but I think people prefer to make it at home. It's this thing of going to the neighbors and asking them for, let's say, a cup of sugar or something, that is so common. At least used to be very, very common in India, or at least where I grew up. This happened so often. Neighbors would come to us. We would go to neighbors, ask them for tea, whatever we didn't have at home, and then you would give that back maybe next time they needed it, or you would just go there for a chat and bring those things back. I think this is also different than over here.
I mean, it happens here as well, but definitely not in that regularity, I would say, especially not in the cities. Yeah.
My parents always, whenever they cook something, they share it with our neighbors, but those neighbors are like family almost now, and they would share things with my parents. So
you guys have shared foods and stuff. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, so in Germany, I guess the big difference is, at least for me, like my dinner was always cold, usually. Yeah. It was always like just, again, breads and cheese and stuff you put on there. It only changed recently that I think more people also have warm dinners. Mm-hmm. I myself now, just because I have more time at night, because I work during the day and I have more time at night to cook something like my tarte flambé or something, I usually cook at night. Unless I have some noodles or something and I can prepare just during lunchtime, which is fast and easy to make. I usually would eat something hot actually at night now. So it changed a little bit. When I was still living in Berlin, I think I still had like my cold meal at night usually. And when I was a kid again as well, I would a lot of the times would have something cold at night, or especially when we had soups for lunch, it's so easy to warm up, a cup of soup or a plate of soup. So you would then just have the same thing you'd had for lunch again for dinner. So I think it changes, and I think there's more nuance now, especially when you eat out, which is usually at night. I would say there's definitely warm foods there, because otherwise you wouldn't eat out.
Yeah. Exactly. I think on special occasions, people over here also cook either something warm or go out, right?
Oh yeah, especially like during like the Christmas time or something. Like Christmas dinners are famous, but then also some Christmas dinners are famous for being the cold, like potato salad.
Potato salad, yeah. By the way, we are talking about Christmas. I love Kartoffelpuffer.
Kartoffelpuffer?
Yeah.
The one that are pan fried? Oh yeah, I love them.
I really wait for Christmas markets to open every year so that I can eat it.
I'm excited to see how Christmas markets are going to be this year, right?
It's going to be, interesting this time.
Yeah. Well, they're usually outside, so that's a plus, I guess.
Yeah, they are outside, but with the amount of people that are there, I think outside does not really mean that.
Oh yeah, you're not gonna be if you're packed in there. Sure. Well, I guess we'll figure that out. But anything else? Is there like a midnight snack you usually have in India?
No, I don't think there's a concept of midnight snack. Also, like Northern India is not really a place where you would have a lot of desserts and stuff. This is something I found interesting as well when I came to Germany, like the amount of desserts you have over here.
Yeah, we have everything from like just chips and crackers to, that's usually something you eat like when you watch a movie, but to actual dessert, which is like ice cream or again cake or something like that, right?
I mean, these things are available in India as well, especially now, but it's not really. I mean, if you go to Italy, there's like, tiramisu, and there are other stuff which is like really, really tasty. Northern India is not really a dessert kind of kitchen. It's mostly known for its main courses. Yeah.
Yeah, and I say we're in the middle probably. There's desserts definitely like Apfelstrudel, which is something, like apple strudel. And other stuff, Kaiserschwein can also sometimes be taken. I think it's something Austrian, to be honest.
Kaiserschwein is, oh man.
It's like a fluffy pancake, and you can eat it like as a main dish, especially in like when I go skiing in the Alps. It's usually something I would eat that as like my main dish. It's with powdered sugar. It's served. So yeah.
I was recently at Zugspitze, which is basically the highest mountain in Germany.
Yep, the highest point. Yeah.
And over there, I had Kaiserschwein, and I didn't expect it to be like the portion to be that large. It was
like sometimes when you eat, like there is a dessert sized portion, and then sometimes there's a big portion. I guess we kind of skipped over the German drinks you would have for that time. So water, obviously, big thing here is fizzy water, like water with.
Oh yeah.
Americans, like when my friends were here, like they gave me fizzy water. So it's still the case that the majority of people who drink water drink fizzy water, so seltzer water basically. And the still water has only been really started to take off like in the past. So
that was really interesting for me as well. So when I came here, I would say in the restaurant, they would ask normales Wasser, which means normal water. And I would say, yeah. And they would bring me fizzy water. I was like, no, this is not normal water.
So if you ever hear, you have to specify like non-fizzy water. Otherwise, there's also for the breakfast, orange juice and other juices. I think that's pretty like orange or multivitamin juices. It's like the default, I would say. And then for other meals, especially during dinner, you would also enjoy wine sometimes or during lunch. And then there's beer for, all different kinds of occasions, usually not for breakfast, but after that.
Yeah, of course. Maybe we should mention that there are some wine growing regions in Germany as well, which people, at least I didn't know this.
Yeah, especially down Frankfurt, like to the left of Frankfurt, or I guess you should say like to the west of Frankfurt. There's a really nice region called the Rheingau, also Rhein-Main region. There's also a lot of...
In Freiburg, they have quite...
Freiburg, that's really down south, like almost touching the border of Switzerland. Yep. Yeah.
Basel is almost there, but... Yeah, cool. And beer, of course, but that's another episode, like if you want to talk about.
Yeah, we have to like talk about, is there a lot of alcohol consumption in India?
Unfortunately in Punjab, yes.
What would you say, unfortunately? Is it becoming a problem, or?
I think it is a huge problem for a lot of the families and it's almost always hard liquor, people drink a lot of whiskey. I think, Punjabis are really proud people, and they say always like a lot of Punjabis would be proud of the fact that we live our lives king size. That's what they say, like whatever we do it in a grand style. But when it comes to drinking, I think we shouldn't do that. So a lot of people don't know when to stop. And that's becoming a kind of problem. I saw some things growing up in the family and neighborhood as well, which I wouldn't like to get into now, but it's
and that's a whole different story, because there's the legal drinking age, which is maybe different and here and there, but that's a different story. But I think we went through a lot of really interesting foods. I learned some new stuff, and I'm looking forward to at some point having some Indian food with you again. Definitely a curry at some point, right?
Definitely, man. Maybe in 2 weeks time when you come and we do our next podcast. So
that sounds really great. So, I think we'll leave it at any closing remarks you have regarding the food topic.
I mean, I have to start my own food channel, and then maybe we can talk about different foods while making those, talk about different stories from my childhood. You can tell me stories about your childhood. We would make not only Indian food, we would make different types.
Oh yeah, and we'll try to and film and make it and have the recipes and everything.
Exactly.
Oh, that's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
This was a great topic, Alex. Thank you so much. for choosing this.
Thank you, Harbier. I learned a lot of new stuff. And again, we only, like for all of our listeners here, we only talked about a small portion, obviously. There's so many different like chocolates and sweets and this is like a whole nother topic, but I just wanted to have a chance for everyone to kind of experience the differences we have here. And I think it's interesting, and I think that makes the world unique, that makes cultures unique. Yeah. Food is a big part of it. And I think both of us really enjoy good food. Although I would say, like, I was never really someone who wanted to go to like the fancy restaurants because I don't see like the small portions and stuff like that. But
hate it. So went to a Michelin star restaurant with work. They gave me this much food. I was like, I need proper food.
but also that's probably a one for another episode. So yeah, thank you, Harvey.
Cool. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of the German Masala podcast. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Hopefully, we're at all platforms right now. So if you want to get your audio on YouTube, and actually some video as well, not really fancy, but if you want to see us, we're on YouTube. And then we're also on all the major platforms like Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify. So check us out there. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to shoot us an email at germanmasala@alex-universe.de. And we'll also mention that German Masala is a podcast under the Alex Universe brand, which is basically this podcast hosted by Harbier and myself, and a YouTube channel called Alex Universe, which is kind of the main thing it started with, talking about electric cars, transport, and so on, which is held in German. But if you want to give it a try, check it out.